No, can't have it like that. It winches upwards like a reverse drawbridge or the gun port on an old sailing ship. Tom's sleeping mind thought to itself, as the human drifted through the night's sleep, body aching with every movement as he shifted under the covers. He was sore from the day's exertions and minor accidents. His mind's eye was busy with imagining just how to make the outer door of his wooden Lego keep come to life. Hidden shafts and sprockets, thin line to connect to the pulleys. No, it doesn't slide either. It opens up and out. No, I said up and out. It isn't a supermarket. It isn't a sliding door. Oh. A brief moment of lucidity washed over him as he felt the chill, fingers and feet stiffening in a moment. The tip of his tail grew numb as he huddled for warmth inside the thick winter coat, nothing but a thin strip exposed to the elements for him to see through into the raging Arctic wind. His only respite was the warm, gentle glow of the waterskins pressed against his sides. Then he winced at the metallic shriek of cold steel on steel. The bearings are long since frozen solid, but the door still slid open. Jelena gazed up for just long enough to grasp the size of the structure before them. It was a castle, wrought from ice-cold steel, ashen grey and inhospitable as the depths of the Bering Sea. They all stood for a moment staring in awe, save Harvick, who strode forward with purpose and excitement, sparing them but a hurried glance. "What are you waiting for? You will not last long in the wind." They shook themselves in their stupor and followed the deranged inquisitor. Jelena, the two other cadets, Harvick's personal retainers, and, of course, Glaz. The imposing woman stood right behind Jelena, like a mother dragon over an egg, or perhaps someone not wanted in the nest. Jelena was still in doubt. Quickly their steps turned to a jog, then to a run, as they hurried for the shelter cold steel could provide. Passing over the threshold, the howling wind finally subsided, and with purpose Harvick threw a lever. The cadets turned as one to watch as, with a hiss of steam exhausted from the cylinders, the door slid shut behind them. With it came pitch darkness until Glaz lit a lantern, soon followed by Harvick. Then more of his entourage. Glaz thrust the source of golden light into the hands of one of the other cadets, without saying a word. They were all frozen, gazing around, lights wandering over the walls of this strange place. They were covered in pipework, valves and fittings, with the odd gorge or control box. The whole castle was like a machine, a wonder beyond compare even to Jelena's meager knowledge. And it was working. Even in the far-flung frigid north, the castle was alive. There had been no magic to open the door. It had simply done as ordered by an inquisitor who clearly knew where they were. "Have you had enough gawking, or shall I let you revel a while longer?" Harvick questioned with evident amusement. He was giddy, like a child almost, though Jelena feared his jubilation might not be a good omen for the rest of them, least of all her. "What is this place? Why did he bring us here? Why did he bring me here? He wants me to see something, to be here, but why?" That was all she could think as the aging inquisitor let the moment linger a little longer. "There, no longer. We must hurry. Follow me and stay close. There are more corridors than I care to count. You will not survive being lost in here." They all nodded, some to him and some to others, but they set off, Harvick leading them through the maze. Glaz remained in the rear to keep them in line. Jelena made no effort to avert her eyes. With every meter of corridor they travelled, more machinery emerged. Things she had no idea what might even be, although some things Tom recognized as he watched it all unfold. Pumps, regulators, pressure gauges. Whatever this was, it ran on steam, gauges still reading even with ice clinging to the pipes. Not a sign of insulation to be seen. Cold steam, very cold, just like Adita talked about. Water and frost powder can make this work. I am gonna have to start playing with that stuff as soon as I get the chance. Jelena soon lost track of where they were or how far they had gone. It was no warmer inside the ancient structure. Or who was to say? It might only have been here for years or decades. The insides were fastidiously clean. Not a stain or body in sight. Nothing broken, only covered with ice from frost. Her feet grew colder and colder, fingers and tail tips soon going so numb she dared not try to move them. "Sir, we won't make it back out. It is too cold," one of the other cadets spoke up, fear cracking their voice. "You will if you turn back now," Harvick retorted. "Have faith or falter. Your choice." The young cadet glanced back the way they came, shining his lantern down the foreboding hallway. He had no chance to find his way back out. He knew it. His step faltered for a moment and he stopped, staring into the darkness. Glass saw to it that he kept moving, with a harsh shove to the shoulder that had him stumbling before he regained his balance and carried on walking. There would be no stopping. They kept walking for what felt like an eternity. The dark grey corridor was all the same, but they went through rooms and sanctums lit by nothing save their dim lanterns. Jelena's half-frozen mind could discern nothing. Tom noted crew quarters, hammocks and bunks for sleeping, a mess hall for eating, lockers and storage rooms. One smaller room they passed through held what must be some sort of mechanical computer, larger than a pool table, and with many stations around it for operators. Harvick spared a moment to run a wrapped hand around its surface of glass and polished brass, since faded, but they carried on. With darkness creeping into the corners of her vision and feet dragging on the floor, finally she felt something. A breath of warmth through the slit her poor eyes peeked through. It was far from true warmth, but it was something. It wasn't the biting cold she had come to know, her only respite being the fires of the machine which had brought them here. "Ah, we are getting close. Quickly, before you freeze to the floor," Harvick beckoned. For once they followed orders with enthusiasm rather than fear, as much as could be mustered in their half-frozen state. Hurrying onwards and downwards, the warmth grew, though slowly. Far too slowly for Jelena's liking. And to her horror, it never rose to anything she might consider livable, as they passed through a final doorway into an inner sanctum, one not wholly devoid of light. "Behold, our destination," Harvick proclaimed, like a triumphant general marching through city gates, arms spread wide as if to take in the magnitude of his achievement. They all stopped and stared, lanterns lowering as they gazed up at the central feature of the large tall room. A massive glass cylinder with something inside. "What in the name of the gods?" Jelena muttered, as she was the first to raise her lantern again, the pathetic light doing little by the glare of the old glass. "Above and beyond," the other female cadet added, as Harvick made for a control console by the side of the tank. With the flick of a switch it came to life, glowing a faint, ghostly blue as he adjusted 2 dials and threw 3 switches. A slow whine, followed by mechanical clattering and whirring gears, filled the room as more lights turned on, more consoles coming to life, lining the wall like well-mannered noble guards. And with a final throw of a small lever, all attention turned to the central cylinder once more, as lights at the bottom illuminated what was inside, causing it to stir. "Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the only known Doetna still twitching. That we know the whereabouts of, at least." There was silence as they all gawked. The massive, grotesque lava-like form hung suspended in liquid, cables and wires attached all over its form. There was not an eyeball to be seen, or a feature to be discerned. It more closely resembled a freshly hatched bird crossed with a worm. Only it was easily the size of a young dragon. That is... it really is..." the male cadet stammered out, taking a step back. "Why have you let it live? You had been here before, you knew it was here!" "Because it is our duty to hoard knowledge, whelp, not keep your terrors in check. You are a member of the Inquisition, not some tavern guard. Yes, this truly is a living Doetna, kept so by this most wonderful place. Now, I have been a little rude. This is no castle, as some of you have muttered. It is a ship of ancient design, not wrought by our hands, but by those dwelling beneath the sea. And I want to know how it got here. I want to know what it... He turned and pointed to the Doetna for emphasis. Knows. They all stood frozen, trying their best to cope with what they were witnessing. Any cleric or paladin would have Harvick's head in a moment for this, followed by a suicidal charge to end the great corruptor for good. A living Doetna was a threat so great, entire islands had been abandoned out of fear that one was near. Nothing stood in their path, not armies or cities. The gods themselves were known to struggle in taming such monsters, and supposedly some of the darker ones had met their final fates at the hand of such creatures. You cannot be serious. We must destroy it, at once. It is our Glaz silenced the young cadet with a strike to the back of the head, a metallic thunk sending him into a heap upon the floor. Insubordination is not tolerated in the Inquisition, but this time I must sadly appeal to your senses. This creature knows every dark secret our enemy has ever hidden. Uncovering its knowledge is more important than any of us could ever be. Now, Glaz, show him to his station. Angelina, come here. Tom could feel the fear running through her. She knew what Harvick meant to ask of her, what he wanted to do. It was impossible. She knew it. She also knew he would not take no for an answer, and she knew he told the truth. There was no telling what a creature like this might know, but surely even making the attempt would be the death of her. Without her willing it, she stepped forward. The rigors of discipline carrying her step, mindless and aimless, she walked to the Inquisitor's side as he turned away to behold the cursed creature, spawned from the depths of hell. I trust you have deduced what I want of you, yes? Why I have brought you here? Yes, sir, I believe I have, she replied hollowly. But I cannot see how I could ever succeed. You will succeed because you must. It is your duty, your very purpose in life. It was why you were given your gifts, he went, in an almost caring tone. It fit him as well as a jester's hood might. There was no weight behind a single word he said, but she simply nodded. It was an order, and she would comply or die trying. Thus were the expectations in the Inquisition. She simply nodded, dumbly, mind still racing to catch up with it all. Very good now. The creature sleeps, and has for God knows how long. You shall probe its unconscious mind, and we shall pray the cold and the starvation is enough to keep it from waking. It is weak, weaker than any Doetna has likely ever been, but you know the risks. You want me to battle a god of evil and expect me to be able to speak once we are finished? She stated dumbly, the absurdity of his plan still struggling to set in. That I do. If you fail, I shall find another. If it wakes, then this was all for naught. You are toying with the fate of our entire people, sir. What if it wakes fully? What if it learns instead? It has been stuck here for an eternity. If it could ever leave, it would have done so long ago, he reassured her. His words rang hollow as Jelena stared at the monster, and for all the world it felt like it was staring back. But rest assured, it is not a request. It is very much an order, ashore, and good soldiers follow orders. That may be so, but how? I cannot just put my palm against the glass, Jelena questioned, still standing in a daze. Simple. You just need this. It took many an attempt, but I had this specially developed for you, the Inquisitor replied, voice dripping with smug, almost gleeful satisfaction, as he produced a small plump bottle containing a clear blue liquid. It shall allow you to breathe underwater, or so I am told. The testing was quite gruesome, Glaz added, with all the emotion of a fortress wall. But it does work now. You want me to go in there? Jelena questioned dumbly, glancing from the Inquisitor to the tank in question. I do. There is no other way, the Inquisitor clarified, in a manner which did not make Tom think he found that especially tragic. And you will do it. There was silence for a while, as Jelena stared at the monster. It was near enough certain death. If she disobeyed, it was absolutely certain death. Harvick would never let anyone walk out of it who did not keep his secret. If anyone found out, he would most likely be branded a traitor. And Jelena had best brand herself a loyal subject, at the very least for now, to avoid his wrath. She took a breath and nodded. Of course, sir, it must be done. That it must. I would recommend leaving that here, or you shall freeze before you make it back out, should you succeed, he remarked, gesturing at her as a whole. Jelena nodded, obediently, and set about doffing her clothes, piece by piece, as Glaz brought out a length of fine rope under her pack. Glaz shall be responsible for pulling you back out when you are done. Best of luck, ashore. With that, he went to instruct the other two cadets on their parts to play. Jelena paid them no mind as Glaz tied the rope fast. This was what they had been trained for. She would show no fear. Fear was the mind killer. She would dominate, her will unyielding and unbreakable. Not a thought of home or of family passed through her mind. Only the task, the risks, and guesses at the rewards. This could lead to the end of Darklings as we know it. The Doetna made them. It is worth it to try, she went to herself, repeating the last part again and again as she ascended the ladder to the top of the tank. Her heart pounded in her chest as she tried to focus. It is worth it to try. It is worth it to try. With a hiss of icy steam, the lid swung open, revealing the awful pool below. Glaz stepped up beside her, holding out not one but two glass vials. The potion, with its vivid blue, and a smaller tube of white powder. Good luck, cadet. May the strength of the land be with you. Jelena could only guess as to what the powder might be, but if she was to have any hope of success, she hoped she was right to think it was the powdered horn of a unicorn, the most potent of magical boosters one could find. And, perhaps, just enough to save her soul from the ravages it was to endure. Doetna were the darkest of creatures, and the horn would not only give her strength, but it would also ward her from the tentacles of corruption. Or so she hoped. Tilting her head back, she emptied the powder vial down her gullet and swallowed once, chasing with the foul-tasting potion. She felt her heart quicken as the feeling of cold and fatigue vanished from her body. She felt strong. No, she felt invincible as she took a step forward and plunged. She braced for the icy embrace of hell, but she got a warm, thick, sticky liquid. A feeling that would make any dragonette or even mighty dragon panic. Her limbs struggled to move, her wings stiff as if set in stone, but soon she felt her feet on the bottom of the tank, and her eyes shot open. The monster was right there, wretched blistered skin in arm's reach. She had no idea if it was the head or the tail, but she had a task to do. With unflinching stillness of mind, she extended her hand and sank it into the soft, squishy creature, its fat and thin skin flowing between her fingers, as she closed her eyes once more and willed it to reveal its secrets. Show me everything. About time someone came for me. And Tom's world flashed white. Tom had woken with a start, shooting up straight on the roll-out camping mattress he was using to sleep down in the kitchens, Rachuk snoring reassuringly off in the dark corner somewhere. Elsara was presumably sleeping alongside Nick, unless she had decided on some midnight spelunking. As he sat, the memories of the dream started to materialize again, and his pulse slowly came down once more. It hadn't been someone rustling around that had woken him. It was the flash of pain at the end. It is a ship. They were on a ship. In the far-off frozen north, Tom muttered to himself, getting out his phone and starting to type away on a note. He could store it properly sometime later. Cold steam-powered. Somehow still functioning. Ancient. Possibly powered by the creature. Doetna. That was a Doetna. The creature they were so hysterical about. Even out here. That cannot be good. No way. Tom wrote down powered by root of all evil and moved to the next line. Big glass tank filled with some sort of gooey liquid. Looked like a biolab from a movie or something. Creature definitely hooked into the machinery somehow. Gods know how that's all working. Designs looked very advanced, at least on par with the stuff in the vault below. Creatures looked to have some sort of very, very early computing. Might be the thinking machines Adita talked about. I wonder if they were fully mechanical or electromechanical. Or it might be magic circuitry, of course. Who's to say at the end of the day? As he tapped away, staring into the small screen, he couldn't help but feel cheated. He needed to know what happened, what the final result was, not just the preamble. And he needed to know before spring came. It could very much decide if Jelena was someone they wanted to work with. What if she is a traitor? How do you even accuse an inquisitor of heresy? The bullet to the head works, but that's not going to send the best of messages. And Glaz is in on whatever it is too. I wonder if Harvick is still kicking around. He looked quite old, and judging by Jelena's age-ish, this was decades ago. Wait. Tom stopped his ramblings for a moment as he took time to think. She wants to go back there, or send someone back there. This is what she wants Nick and Elsara for. That can't be good. Should I tell them? Tell them what? The not particularly sleepy voice of Rachuk questioned from the darkness. I heard your mumblings, Tom. Did you have a vision? Yeah, I did, Tom admitted. Not sure he wanted to share what he had learned with the captain. He very much doubted Rachuk would be pleased to learn that their patron had been inside a tank of goo, with what could more or less equate to Beelzebub. I take it you do not have good news. It could be worse, but I still haven't gotten everything. I just keep waking up. And for that you should be thankful. Tom sat and stared into the dark for a little while, as silence reigned. Anything you wish to share? The captain questioned. He wasn't being harsh or making a demand, just a simple, polite question, though Tom knew full well he definitely wanted to know if he could. They found a ship, the fortress castle, whatever. Wasn't actually a castle at all. It was a massive ship, and I do mean massive. I don't know how long they walked the halls. Time gets a little weird, but must have been nearly an hour. It was through a bunch of winding corridors, though, so I don't know how big. Just that it was big. I see. And was it still working? In a sense, I think so, yeah. Though I cannot fathom why or how. It should have corroded centuries ago. I guess the cold does help in some aspects, but even so, it doesn't make any sense. There I can be little help to you, the captain replied with a sigh. I only know that the wards which guard the runes and magics of our items are known to preserve the items themselves, for a time at least. I mean, I guess that could help, but there was no way that entire thing was enchanted. Impossible. Didn't see many runes either, Tom dismissed, feeling fairly confident in his assessment, though it did not solve the mystery of just how the ship had survived. Though it certainly did have a power source which could keep such enchants working, if they really are that magically potent. Who knows? Maybe it could be true. I see, the captain finally replied after Tom had sat quietly, thinking for a bit. Well, let us hope that you get your conclusion soon, then. It would be nice to know just who we are dealing with. Though I must emphasize, please keep any private matters to yourself, Tom. In the name of her dignity. Oh, Yeah, I will. Don't you worry. The following day, Tom decided to try and busy his mind with something other than an incomplete puzzle, to which he would not be gaining the final piece for God knew how long. Worryingly, it did seem that the more stressed or otherwise messed up he was, the greater the chance of a vision happening. He was still sore all over from his time playing Human Hot Wheels Snow Edition. In all, it had been an exhausting but excellent day. Now he had to take to busy projects like usual to keep his mind at peace. Luckily, there was plenty to do, and today he had decided to start tackling the Christmas feast. It wouldn't be particularly Christmassy, it must be said. Instead, he was going to spend the day attempting to make something he missed very much: pasta. His labours had been interrupted by the sound of claws on wood, as Elsara descended the stairs with a curious look on her face, likely eager to learn just what he was cooking up.
So, we finished painting the red ones, and, I'm sorry, what the fuck's that?
She exclaimed, coming to a stop, staring at his work table, everything covered in flour and bits of egg. It is pasta. You dug out the chickens and they laid a few eggs. Not many, but enough to try this.
You made one of those dying noises again.
Pasta! Tom reiterated, with a dumb smile on his face. Elsara wrinkling her snout in annoyance.
That did not help one bit. What is it? Some sort of, I don't know, shitty glue? Ceramic? Are you making pots?
She questioned, sticking her claw into one of the doughy balls. No, it's food, Tom said proudly, leading Elsara to furrow her brow quite extensively.
I doubt that.
Oh, come on! It's just flour and eggs mostly. I'm rolling it out and cutting it into strips. I guess that would make this fettuccine. He picked up one of the finished strips, which he was twisting into little nests, just like the picture in the article. It looked absolutely nothing like said picture, of course, but he could dream. Elsara stared at him for a moment before shaking her head.
You definitely need to work on the name. Also, no meat?
You serve it with meats and stuff. Most importantly, sauce. I think I can put something together with some cheese and the sausages we have. Tomatoes are going to be a challenge this time of year. Next summer, though, there shall be bolognese for all.
Dude, language.
What? I'm quite sure that doesn't mean anything in Draconic. It's got lip sounds and everything.
Yeah, but if my kids sounded like that at the table, I'd slap them. No shitting at the table.
Tom had to catch a snigger at that one, as he shook his head. Come now, if it sounds like that, you might need a healer rather than table manners.
When there is mould on the jerky, expect to suffer twice. The life of adventure ain't all sunshine and rainbows.
I am quite familiar, yes. But you're right, we will need to come up with some names for this stuff. Got any ideas? Tom questioned, feeling hopeful she might have some exotic yet recognizable ideas that would make sense to a dragonette.
What about prison strips?
Huh?
It's got no meat and it ain't bread. Looks like something they would serve a prisoner. But like, not at the nice prisons either. Oh, what about miner's jerky? If you close your eyes, you can almost imagine something better. She carried on, gesturing towards an imaginary sky. It doesn't even soak up the broth like bread would, so you use less of the precious meat water. Truly genius.
Dude, not cool, Tom protested. A little let down she thought that little of his creation. It had been quite a lot of work to make after all.
I ain't a dude and being cool is my whole deal,
Elsara retorted, standing back up straight, having finished her inspection of the pasta.
But what do you want us to do now? We're done with the painting.
Next batch, of course. They'll be blue. We don't have so many different colours to work with.
Right. Sweet, more painting. Please tell me we don't have to make the paint first, right?
I honestly don't know. Ask Richuk, would you? He should know. I'll be busy with dinner, Tom replied, gesturing to his workspace.
We're having that for dinner?
Elsara questioned, the horror evident on her face. I need some test subjects. You lot will do nicely.
Fucking hell, I did not sign up for this.
As a matter of fact, you did, but relax. There'll be something else too, don't worry about it. But yes, this is dinner today. Fresh handmade pasta.
Back home, people would pay out the nose to have this for dinner, I tell you.
That's fucking depressing. You do you. I'm sure Nick will slurp up what's left over. I have to go find the most boring man alive and ask where he keeps his blood paint. See ya.
He's not that bad, Tom said in a raised voice, as Elsara started to make for the door. He's just a bit boring compared to me.
Sure thing, prison chef.
Prison chef? I'll show you who is the chef around here. I got a recipe and everything. I just need to work out what to replace milk with, Tom muttered to himself as he returned to the work. He should be able to make the pasta in advance for the big day. Perhaps he could even take advantage of the temperature and freeze it fresh rather than attempting to dry it in a barely above ambient room. It'll be fine, I'm sure, but tonight it'll be fresh. Just gotta work up the sauce too. I could add some of the pocket soup they have to make it taste a bit more meaty. It smells delightful, Woodchuck said in mock delight, as Tom set down the bowl in front of the captain. If he was being entirely honest, it hadn't gone great. The saucer split, the sausages burned a little, and he wasn't sure, but he had probably overcooked the pasta. Yeah, it wasn't a runaway success, but I'm sure I'll get the kinks worked out. For now, just tell me what you think.
You need to work on your presentation, Elsara said, as she poked a little at her bowl with the wrought iron fork. It looks worse now, like gruel with strands in it.
Well, I don't have much on hand to give colour. Normally you put some basil leaves on it or something to make it look appetising.
I don't think a pair of leaves is fixing it. Some slices of steak, though. Then you might be fooled into thinking it was just a strange way to present steak.
There is sausage in there, actually.
But you can't see it. It's covered in that thick grey sauce. What even is that?
It's a cheese sauce. It split a little. Got it too hot.
Ah, lovely,
Elsara replied, not hiding her opinion in the slightest, which was what Tom had asked for, to be fair. Perhaps if the sausage was added while plating, it would create a little contrast, Woodchuck added, far more respectfully. Perhaps another variant of meat alongside the sausages? I think some jerky would be much improved by a rich sauce. Not a bad idea, Tom had to concur. The dragoness needed far more meat than he was used to, so might as well stick it wherever it could be hidden. I'll give that a go tomorrow.
Damn, not even a break? Fah. I'll have to ask Nick if we got rations to spare.
Come now, Elsara, we should at least taste it, Woodchuck pleaded, leading by example and poking one of the fettuccine strips with his fork and pulling it clear, looking a touch confused at what to do now. Before Tom could explain, he put it in his mouth and just bit off the end, having managed at most 2 or 3 grams of pasta in the effort, and the rest of the strip sort of slopped back into the bowl. You are supposed to twist it onto the fork like this. Tom elected to try to demonstrate, though it was quite tricky to do with a 2-pronged fork, as was the norm of the keep. After some struggling, he did succeed, though, and got a good mouthful. Chewing, he tried to contemplate the flavour. The texture wasn't great, the split sauce accounting for that. The actual pasta wasn't too bad, though. It was too soft. He had cooked it too much, but the base flavour was quite good, at least he thought so. Elsara was the first one to get a proper mouthful, perhaps looking to get it over with. And as she chewed, she rocked her head side to side like she was reconsidering. When she swallowed, Tom anxiously awaited the news.
I'll take it back. It ain't prison food.
She took a drink of water.
There is too much cheese in it for that. And some broth too, right?
Tom nodded. Pocket soup since winter, you know?
Smart man. Yeah, no, if you don't fuck up the cooking, the sauce tastes fine. The strands just feel like a strange porridge, though.
Yes, they are supposed to have more of a chew, give some mouthfeel. I overcooked them, I think.
Right.
Elsara looked down at the plate with skepticism, then, much to Tom's relief, started rolling up a second forkful, as Woodchuck finished chewing to deliver his verdict. I think the children will love it. He nodded severely, like that was a high compliment. Tom took his real meaning, though. I got some learning to do. Where is a Giuseppe when you need one?